everybody, it's Kathy Champion from Random Acts of Crafting, and welcome to my craft room. Today I think what we're going to do is we're going to build a card, and I am going to take you through the entire process from picking out paper to cutting it down to the size we need, the matting and everything. And what I am actually doing, because I wanted the process to incorporate every step, I am starting totally from scratch. So let me pull some paper. The first thing I want to do is decide what I want my card base out of. And I think I'm going to go ahead and start with a piece of black, and let's see if this one measures 4 1/4 by 11, which make it a 5 1/2 by, yep, this is a card base. So that is exactly what we need to do, and that's half of a piece of 8 1/2 by 11 paper. So 8 1/2 would be 4 1/4. So this is 4 1/4, and of course we cut it right down the middle, so this length is 11 inches. So what we're going to do now, we're going to put it in our scoreboard, and I always like to decide what size I want my card to be first. So we're going to put it in on the 11-inch side, so the long side into the scoreboard, and we are going to score this at 5 1/2. So 5 1/2, and we're going to give it a good score. And then we're going to fold it over. Grab my bone folder. And we are going to give it a good varnish to make sure we have a nice crease. Now we need to decide what we want to mat this with. But before we decide what we're going to mat it with, we need to find out what paper we're going to use on the outside. So I'm going to pause for 1 minute and pick out a few papers, and then I'll come back and show you my deciding process on actually picking out my paper. Alright, we're back, and I did find a solid that I want to do my mat out of. And what I did is I went into my stash and I found this paper pad. Again, this is the Paper Studio. I did get it at Hobby Lobby. As you can see, it was originally $14.99. If they have a red sticker on anything, it is usually marked down 70%. So when you go to Hobby Lobby, be sure to look for your clearance stickers. They're always in red, and they are scattered throughout the crafting. Actually, they're scattered throughout the entire store, but for the paper crafters, over where your paper craft supplies are, be sure to go up and down every aisle. Don't just go and look in the back where the clearance section is, because they put a lot of their gems are hidden away in the regular section, so be sure to look there. But what I'm going to do with this, I looked at this paper pad, and as I was just kind of thumbing through it, as we do, and it is beautiful paper. It all has a sheen to it, which is gorgeous. It catches the light. But the last paper in this book was the one that caught my eye. And the reason for that is because how gorgeous would this be on this black card base? But I wanted to pick out a mat, and I thought, how pretty is that yellow? So I went into my stash of just lightweight cardstocks, and I found this yellow that matches it just about identical. So I chose that and this. So now let's decide exactly how we want to build our card. Now this is always my thought process when I'm working on a card. What kind of card do I want to make? I've got my base. So we know it's just going to be a regular card, but a regular card can actually be turned into something quite amazing. With a little work, some dies, some punches. Let your creativity flow when you're working on something like this, and even though it needs to be a simple card, it can still be a beautiful card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down. We know that this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so I need a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of yellow to put down on here for the mat. So I'm going to pull out my trimmer once again, and we are just going to put this in on the 4-inch line. And I usually cut my 4-inch pieces like this, and it leaves me a bigger piece here for something else. and then I'll pull my arm out and I'll go ahead and cut this at 5 1/4. And you can actually get 2 mats with a strip left over out of that one side. So that's always a good thing to know. And again, like I always tell you, do not throw your scraps away, because they will come in useful for something else. Sometimes I do like just a paper piecing, and I will show you a card that I did that on. Let me grab it. And this is always a good way to use up your scraps. Let's get my little box of cards over here, and let me find the one that I'm referring to if I haven't mailed it out to someone. It's just so many things that you can do when you don't limit yourself, because you can use your scraps to your advantage and make absolutely beautiful backgrounds with your scraps. So I do encourage everybody to hang on to their scraps, because you can make them very, very useful and very pretty. This background paper I made out of strips. So I cut down a bunch of pieces of scraps that I had, and all I did was cut them to 1/2 inch. I believe these were 1/2 inch. And I just started gluing them down randomly, willy-nilly, onto my my card base. And then when I was finished, actually I think I put it on a black piece of paper. I did. I just glued it down on to like my mat. And then when I was finished, I took my scissors and turned it over and trimmed off. And then I had this beautiful card base that anything would look cute on, and I made it into a little happy birthday card, because we always need a birthday card. So this one's very generic. It can be I would say this is more of a ladies type of card because of the sparkles and the flowers and things like that. But this is an idea for using up your scraps that's, to me, it's ingenious, and I can't claim credit for that. I did see it, I believe Edith Ray did this on her channel, and I thought that is just beautiful. I love the idea, and I have created several cards. In fact, I've got a couple of other card bases. When I was doing this, I had enough of strips that I made a front for another card that I can use another time. But anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to put this here, and we are going to decide what we want to do with our floral. And too, I think a good thing would be questioning what type of card do we want this to be. And I think with the florals and the yellow, I think I'm going to make this a sympathy card. We always need at least a couple of sympathy cards to have on hand in case they're needed. We hope we never use them, but as life has it, you know you will. You could have very easily picked up this deep rose, or the lighter pink in that rose, the purple, the blue, that blue that's almost like a periwinkle, the lavender, the green. Any of these colors would have really popped with this card base, with the mat. So choose your mat according to what color you want your card to pop with, because this is going to give this card the pop that it needs. So now we need to decide how we're going to use this particular piece of paper. And what I think I want to do is I want to make a little card on the front of it. And this is where I told you that you can become very creative with how your card will look. So I want to make a card that is going to measure, and this is totally just coming in my head as we're sitting here looking at the paper. So I want the little card to be about 3.5 by 2.5. So 2.5, that would be 5. So we know we want it. Let's see. Make sure. Now y'all all know that math is not my strong suit. So it's going to be 2.5 wide. So we need our piece to be 5. So we're going to cut a strip off of here at the 5-inch mark. So then we can cut it down to what we need it. But we know in order to fold it, we need it to be 5 inches to give us that 2.5-inch card. So 5 inches. And like I told you, I'm just bringing you along on my thought process for how I build my cards and how I come up with my inspiration. Totally off the fly, right off the top of my head. And I know that's scary because the top of my head is not always good. So we know that we've got our card now to the, let's see, we got to figure out now how we want it to be 3.5. So we've got our width. We know that it's going to be, let's see, this is going to be our 5-inch, and we're going to fold it right here, and we want it to be 3.5 long. So all we're going to do now is bring our trimmer back. If you've got pattern paper, this is where you're going to really need to make sure that you're looking at your pattern. And I don't think this one really matters. It can go either way. But now we need this to be 3.5. Let's say 3.5. And this we're going to fold in half. So I'm going to actually put it in the scoreboard so we can get a really good crease in it. So I'm going to turn it over on this side, putting it in on the 5-inch side, and we're going to score it at, let me get my score tool. So 5 inches, 2.5 is going to be our halfway point, because remember we wanted our card to be 2.5 inches wide. So 2.5, and we are going to fold that over. And we got this cute little card that's going to live on the outside of our envelope. Outside of our base of our card. So like I said, this is going to be kind of like a card within a card. And I think these are always super cute. What I want to do now is I want to get my bone folder and I want to really give this a good crease, because I want this to lay. And I also want to round my corners here. So I am going to get my corner rounder. And I want to do it on the 1/2-inch side. So what I'm going to do is just pop this in here. And like I said, you want to make sure that you have that in there. See, and I didn't have it quite right there. We're going to actually use our scissors, the little snips, to kind of snip this off. And actually, I think what did that is because my fold was off just a hair. But that's good. So now we are going to, if I can pick up that little crumb. I don't know how y'all are, but I hate little crumbs on my desk when I'm crafting. I have to get them off. So there we have the little rounded edges, which always look so neat on the card. So I want to put something else on top of this card to decorate it. So I want to see what shape do I have that I could put something on the front of that, because I think that's where I want a sentiment or a die cut to live here. So we want to make sure that we get this centered right in the middle. And you can measure if you are a stickler for getting your measurements just right. You can always put down, that looks like 3/4. That's almost an inch, and I'm sure it's going to be, let's see, that's definitely 3/4, and I don't think it's going to be quite 3/4 here. Yep, that's about 3/4, and that's almost an inch. So it's going to be almost an inch on the top and bottom, and 3/4 on the sides. So again, you can just eyeball this if you like, and then you can adhere this down to your card, to your mat. And again, like I said, I don't put anything together. I kind of build it first, and then I decide what I want, how I want to do this. I have an older punch. It is actually an old Stampin' Up! Punch, and it's I'm sure y'all seen these. These were called the whale punches. They still punch great. I don't I don't have a lot of Stampin' Up. It's not that I'm against Stampin' Up, but because of the way it's sold, it is so much more expensive than buying your own supplies and not having to keep everything coordinated with Stampin' Up's rules. So for that reason, I usually go with my own supplies at the craft store or online stores on the internet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in on the edge. This is that piece that we knew we were going to have that little edge hanging off of, and I'm going to punch. Let's actually get it up here in my hand so I can control it a little bit. I'm going to punch this little window out because I thought this would be so cute living on there, and I might go ahead and punch one more. And see how easy that punches? I mean, I can just do it with one hand and no effort whatsoever. So I do love that punch for that reason. Okay, so I thought these would be really cute to put like a happy birthday or a thinking of you, or sorry about that. I usually put my phone on silent when I'm recording, but that was one of those little times that I didn't. So I'm just trying to decide, how do I want that to live? Do I want to put them together? That's something else you could always do. I've always thought these look like little mini tongue depressors. Do y'all do that? Do you, when you're crafting in your craft room and you punch out shapes, you say, oh, that looks like this, or that looks like that? But these would be really cute if we adhered them together, and you can do that using a piece of sticky tape. Double-sided tape, I would lay them down like this. I'd put them together. I'd run my tape right down the middle, just enough to hold them together, and then peel it off and stick it on. But you might want to put your tape on them first, and let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to use a little piece of score tape. And I'm just going to cut me a little piece. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm getting these, and I'm going to bring this over right here, and I'm going to use my mat to help me line these up. And you know what I might do? I might do this. I might just put this piece on this one. Not wanting to go in there where I want it to. But little pieces, as you know, if you work with anything that's miniature, it is a little tedious, but it's okay. Now we can lay this one face up, and then we can just butt this one up to it. And see, that gives us a nice little piece that is, and it is off just a hair. Let's see. The score tape you can actually peel back up. That's the one thing I like about the score tape. The sticky tape you can't. Once you adhere it down, it's there, it's done. Okay, I think that looks really good. Now I'm going to take my bone folders, y'all know, I always do. And I'm going to varnish this a little bit to make sure that that tape back there adheres. And this is ready now to peel off. So I think right here we could put with sympathy or thinking of you. We could actually stamp this as one piece. And I think that would be super cute. So let me pull some stamps and decide exactly what I'm going to do. And we'll be right back. Thank you. Okay, we're back, and I found my stamp set that is entitled Sorry, and let me put a piece of paper under here so y'all can see this a little better. This is a Maymay made it stamp set, and it's got a lot of reasons why we're sorry. So I love that it says sorry, I was wrong. It's been too long. Please forgive me for your loss. So I think on the front of this, we know that this little piece will not hold our sorry. It will cut off just a bit, so I don't think we can put sorry on the front. So we're going to have to find something else that will say And we could say, I am really, and then when they open up the card, it can say sorry. I think that's what we're going to go with this one. So, let's see. Let's pull off, I am really, and we're going to put sorry for your loss, because like I said, we're going to make this a sympathy card. So there's our little stamp. So I'm going to grab a stamp block, and I'm going to move this yellow piece out, and I'm just going to put this right here. And again, I always like to try to, I like to kind of center my piece of paper prior to actually stamping. Now I'm going to get out my favorite ink. My favorite ink if I'm not using alcohol markers or anything like that. So this is my Fine Onyx Black, and it does such a good job at doing sentiments that it is really my go-to ink. I love the Fine. So let's just really ink this up, and this stamp hasn't been used before, so I hope I'm not going to be sorry for not stamping it off on something else first. But we're going to put that right in the middle. I am really, and there it is. We're just going to press it down, hold it really still. We don't want to wiggle. We just want to hold it there and let it kiss the paper. Let the paper absorb that ink. This is the best way to do stamping. And look, that is beautiful. So I am going to scrub my stamp off, but we will get it off the block later. But I do always try to scrub it off on my little scrubber. Now this can live right here on top of that, and I think we're going to pop that up just a bit. And I showed y'all my little dimensional dots for the 3D foam squares, and I'm going to use a couple of the little ones on the back of this. Oh, we got the sticky tape. That's right. Well, let's just go ahead and pull the backer off of it. But I do want to pop this up, so I am still going to put right in that line of sticky tape. I'm going to put about 3 or 4 of these little squares. I think 3 can actually take care of it. Oops, I pulled the backer off of that one before I was ready. But that's okay. We're going to make it. We're going to make it work. There we go. They're going to come off anyway, so we can stick this down on the front of this little card. And you know, I find anytime that I'm working on something like this where I'm just kind of going at it, not really knowing for sure what I'm going to make. Sometimes this is when you come up with your best ideas, because you're kind of having to think on the fly. And a lot of times this is when you can be your best creative self. So don't be afraid to just go in, pick out some papers, cut them, let your creativity flow. Now I am going to put a little yellow matte inside this card, and the reason for that, let's see if we get my ruler going the right way. This is 2.5, so I'm going to cut it 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. So 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. So 2 1/4 on 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. This is just going to give us a cute little mat inside of this little card. And we do need to round the 2 corners on that side to match up. So I am going to do it on my 1/2 inch, and like I said, get it down in there. And my quarter rounder is not wanting to play today. I don't know what is its problem, but it's like it's, there we go, getting a little fuzzy on the end, like it's just not quite sharp enough or something. Well, now it did that one perfect. It's like a child. Sometimes it'll play and sometimes it won't. Okay, let's move this out of our way, and now we can glue this little mat in here like so. And for that, I'm just going to use my art glitter glue, and we can start building the card now. I'm actually building it from the inside out. And I think what this allows you to do by making this little card on the front that is going to say, you know, I am really, where's my little piece? Okay, right there. I am really, and then have the sorry on this card. You can write your own personal message inside. And I think anytime someone loses a loved one, it's so easy. And sorry never is the right word, even though we have to say it because it's what we have been taught to say. It's just everybody's grief process is so different. So I always find it a little difficult when I make a sympathy card. That's why I like to have some generic ones waiting, because for me it's so hard to decide a card for someone. But if I've got some already pre-made like this, then I can just pull one out of my stash, and inside I can write a nice little personal note about the person that was lost. And I think that's just a really neat little way to do it. So now we're going to stamp inside here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the sorry. And I usually line my stamps up like this. I will put my stamp on my line on my mat because nobody wants to have a crooked sentiment. And then I will find a line on my stamp block, and then I know that this is on nice and straight, so that when I press it to my paper, and I want to put sorry, and then underneath that we're going to put, let's see if we can put that on there too, for your loss. Again, I'm just lining this up on my mat, and we are going to put that pretty close to the sorry, because I want to put this right in the middle of this. So again, let's grab the VersaFine. I should have left it out because I knew I was going to do more stamping, but it's okay. And always check your stamps, look at them in the light, and make sure that you have them inked really good. This will help from having problems. And I should have stamped this before I glued it, because you see with it on this card, it wants to wiggle and move. But we're going to try to hold it down and center this about like so, and just hold it, putting a little pressure on it. Alrighty, and that looks beautiful. Alright, give me just a second, because I am going to do my little scrubby thing off to the side with my stamps. I am always wanting to clean my stamps as soon as I use them. One of my idiosyncrasies. But I think that is just super cute, and it's a little card that's going to live on your card. So now we can go ahead and adhere this to the back, and I'm just going to use art glitter glue for this. And you know, I think I'm going to do one more stamp though before I stop. I want to do just a little bit of I'm struggling with my pen and my glue. I always do. And I think it's because I have a little bit of a buildup of glue on my needle or the pen. There it went. I just did not want to leave that out. Let's see. I think I want to do, trying to decide which one of these do I want to stamp. I think right here. Maybe right here. And you know what, that's not going to work because we've got this dimensional already on here, and that's not going to allow us to stamp there. Should have thought about that, but these are things that you know, we put a card together and then we realize, but we'll put this on the inside, no biggie. Let's just lay our stamp set over here for just a moment, and we will get back to that in a minute. So I am going to go ahead at this point and I'm going to glue this down, and I'm just going to use art glitter glue, and I'm going to just run some all across the back, around the edges, because these edges you definitely want to adhere. And then I'm going to eyeball. We know that we need about 3/4 of an inch on each side. Again, using my mat. We know this is 4 inches. So, and that looks pretty good right there. So then just put a little pressure on it. You can also go over with your bone folder to help make sure that that glue gets evenly distributed underneath. And there's your little card that's going to live on your actual card. So now we can go ahead and adhere this down. And then we're going to make sure that we keep our little 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, and we are going to glue this down like so. And I'm going to tell y'all something that I used to have so much trouble with, and that was matting cards, because I always felt like I was off. This is something that comes with practice. The more you do it, the better you will get at getting your mat onto your card base and for it to look good. Now, as you can see, this is going to open up like this. We are going to cut another piece of this yellow to go on the inside, because we want to kind of keep with the same theme of papers. Let me grab a little wet wipe for 2 reasons. I need to clean my pen, and I also need to get the glue off of my fingers. I don't know about y'all, but I keep more glue on my fingers than I do on my projects, it seems like. I always have glue somewhere where it shouldn't be. On my mat, on another piece of cardstock that I had no intentions of getting glue on, and always on my pen. So, like I told y'all in previous ones, I have found out that these, the stopper toppers, they're so pretty. I love this one. It's got this beautiful cross on it. My other one has... here it is right in front of me. This one right here is the blue, which is another one of my favorite colors, and it has a puppy dog foot on it, and these are just so pretty. I love them, and I had ruined quite a few before I learned the trick. So I remember Maymay did a tutorial, one of her little tips on her Product Parade channel, and she was saying never force that. Well, when I realized why I was forcing mine, when you pull this out of your ink, especially if your bottle is fairly full, this pen's going to have glue on it. And with that glue buildup on that pen, it is not going to go back down into this. So I learned this trick on my own, and what I do is I clean off the tip of my fine metal tip, and I make sure there's no glue on that pen. You can see how fine that pen is, and any glue, and I hold my finger behind it so that I can guide it in, and it just goes right in. And I think that was just a wonderful way to learn not to bend that. So now we know we need a 4 by 5 1/4 piece to mat on the inside. So we're going to put this in and cut it at 4. Keep that strip. That's the perfect size strips that we need for our the little card like this that I showed you. So anytime you cut off a strip like that, do not throw it away. It will come in handy. You will be able to use it. So let's go ahead and put the card in, and we're going to cut it at 5 1/4, or our mat. And I know that matting, some people think, oh my goodness, you're wasting so much paper. And you are using it, but I don't consider it a waste. And I'll tell you why. When you pick up a card, you want the card to feel like it has some substance to it. And matting, not only does it give it substance, but it gives it such a nice finished look. So I don't scrimp on my my matting. So before we mat this, I do want to do some stamping, and I just about got ahead of myself. I'm going to leave this for writing my sentiment, but I do want to do a couple of little stamps in here. I love this coming off of the bottom of the page. I think that's so cute, and I want some of these little ditties that looks like the pieces from this little dandelion have broke away. Why don't we do it like this? Let's bring it up to the top corner and let these pieces look like they're just falling. And I'm going to actually put these, I'll probably stamp these in more than one place. So let me get my little stamp block. I have got to get me another set of these because I use them all the time. I love them so much more than I do the little ones like this. And again, it's totally a preference. Some people love the ones like this. Some people like the round ones. But for me, I love these Fiskars. They are my go-to stamp blocks. I like the fact that I can hold them like this. By having that little edge on them, I don't get my fingers in the ink as bad, and I really like that. So if you're interested in getting some stamp blocks, these are the ones that I would recommend. And they do come in a set, I believe, of 4 or 5. And like I said, I'm going to definitely get myself another set because I use these all the time, and I'd like to have enough of them, especially when I'm doing a tutorial, so I don't have to pull stamps off of something. Now, I am going to be stamping off the page, so because of that, I'm going to get my little, this is nothing but just a piece of wrappings that some chipboard came in, and I just kept the cellophane that was on it, and I use it a lot of times because the one that I made myself, I actually cut it with a X-Acto knife. So I'm just going to kind of do this off the corners right here, like so. Once you find your position, just put your stamp block to the paper and hold it. Ah, now that didn't stamp good in the middle, so we're going to see if we can line this back up, and we're going to press that down in the middle. That's good enough. You know, the dandelions look a little undone anyway, so we're going to go with that. So now we're going to do a couple of these like they have flown off from the dandelion. Like so, and then we're going to grab this one and we're going to do it. This is the smaller one, so it's going to have some pieces flying up here, maybe one off the edge right there, and maybe one right about here, and then one off the page down here. And then we still have room right there to sign our card. And okay, we got our card all ready, but as you can see, it looks like it's missing something. So I thought, okay, we need to add something to really make this card pop. And after looking at it, I thought something maybe in each one of these corners would look really nice. So I took this little strip of pattern paper that matches the card on the front, and I cut 1-inch strip. And now I'm going to lay this down right here on my mat, and I'm going to take my ruler and my X-Acto knife, and we are going to cut a 1-inch strip, a 1-inch square off of this. Now you could do this with your trimmer. You could actually cut this with your scissors if you like, but just for the sake of time and everything, I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife, and I am going to slice one. Oops, it moved on me. Oop, I hope that didn't mess me up, but it probably did. That's okay. We're just going to take several passes and pull that away. And then we're going to lay it at a diagonal, and we're going to cut this in half so we have two triangular pieces. And we're going to need 4 of those. 2 squares cut in half, which will give us 4 triangles. And the triangles where we're going to do is they're going to live in the corner of our card. So as you can see, that didn't cut through, but when all else fails, grab our scissors and we're going to whack that in 2. Alright, now that we've got that cut, let's move some of this stuff out of our way and bring our card back over, and we've got our pieces all cut, and we're just going to glue these down in the corner. Each one of these corners, and this is going to give the card some added dimension, which is so necessary when we are making a card. So with a little art glitter glue, I'm going to put these down in the corner. And you'll see as soon as I start putting them on that it really starts adding to the card. And make sure you slide those around just a little bit. The art glitter glue allows us to do that, and get it right up in the corner so we cover all of the yellow, and it looks like it's just kind of floating in from underneath the black, which I think gives the card a super effect. I'm loving the way this is coming together. There we go. Now we're going to push that one up just a little bit. Yep, get it positioned just like it needs to be. Yeah, and that is looking so much better. So now we're going to get the other 2 pieces on in the bottom. And this right here is just a very easy technique that you can use on any card that will actually give you a lot of dimension, really adds to the card, makes things pop, because with doing those corners it just really makes that yellow kind of come up off of the card, and I think it looks really pretty like that. So don't be afraid to try angles and squares or whatever on your cards, because this can add so much to them. So just go ahead and get that last piece glued down. And I am thinking, even with this, we need a little something else. So I'm going to do some stitching. So I'm going to get me a black pen, and can never find a pen when you're looking for it. But now I think that I want something that's going to give me a little bit fatter of a stitch. So I don't want to use a fine tip. I want something that has a little substance to it. So here I'm testing my Sharpie Ultrafine tip marker, and this is going to give me exactly what I was looking for. Forever forgetting to put my pen back in the glue. So clean that pen off, and so we don't have clumps of glue on it and the top of our bottle. It is a constant battle with our glue, but we have to take care of it. So now let's see if we can just get this stitching going around the edges, and I'm going to start over here at this back corner, and I'm going to just work my stitching across there. And don't be afraid to stitch. It can add so much to our cards, and I think it really makes things pop. It also gives the card that homemade touch, because you can see that someone took the time to make this card. Now at these angles right here, I'm just going to go in under them all the way up to the top corner, and then we're going to work our way back across the top. I'm really loving the way this card is coming together, and the fact that we started this card together not really knowing where we were going with it. So again, like I said earlier, I really wanted to just bring you along with me, and I'll let you see my thought process, and sometimes that can be scary, but I think this came together really good. So don't be afraid to try. And you know, if it doesn't come together like you like it, you can always start over. It's just paper. It's just cardstock. We can always revamp it. We can cover up and just, you know, hide little flaws that we might have made along the way. I have camouflaged so many flaws in card making, and it's easy to do, and I'm so glad that we can do that and really make things pop and come to life. So we are just about done with our stitching, and then so here is our final card. I think it turned out beautifully. I hope that you will make this card, and if you do, please share it on our Facebook page, Random Acts of Crafting by Kathy Champion. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.